Thank you, Sankalp, for taking this time out and coming to talk to us. Uh, just if you can tell us about yourself, who you are, where you are at the moment, what you have been doing, and then we'll get into more details there.
Sure. Thanks, love, for having me here. As you know, like my name is Sankalp. I'm a product manager at Wise, taking care of the scams prevention team, ensuring that the bad actors are not on the Wise platform.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been a PM for last 1 year, and before that, I was analytics lead in the KYC space, which is also known as Know Your Customer. And before that, I was in India for working for JP Morgan, and there I was a software developer, and yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's break it down to step by step. तो अभी आप वाइस के लिए काम कर रहे हो and we both are working for Wise. So we are based in Tallinn, Estonia. So let's go back to India first. आप वहाँ पे क्या कर रहे थे? आपने बताया कि you were working for JP Morgan. But let's go further back. If you can tell us about your studies, what program you studied in your bachelor's or then you did master's, how the journey started.
Cool. So I'll take you a step back from where I am, and then I'll take you to the place how I landed up in Estonia too.
Yeah.
So it all started with I like I'm from originally from a place called Sagar in Madhya Pradesh. I did my 10th standard there, and obviously as everyone know, like there are two streams for Indian kids, either maths or science, right? Yeah. But I think from the beginning, so my father is a doctor, and everyone was like, okay, you have to take science, bio, and so on. Yeah. But eventually it was like, okay, I have like a lot of interest towards maths, and I scored 100 out of 100 in maths in 10th class. Okay. And yeah, it was coming to me very naturally, and I opted for 10th. And as a normal Indian, everyone would go for preparation for IIT JEE. So I went to Kota. Okay. And did my studies for IIT JEE, and wasn't able to crack, but I made into VIT Vellore, and in the first attempt, and I was doing like information technology, which is a part of computer science there. So ये वाली जर्नी काफ़ी एक्साइटिंग रही. So उसके बाद मैंने वहाँ पे 4 साल किया इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी में, एंड उसके बाद प्लेसमेंट्स होते हैं. तो प्लेसमेंट्स में हम लोगों का कंपनी आई थी JP Morgan, which was coming for the first time, and it was a super dream company for us. So they offered a role of risk analyst. They started with a very common or generic role, but when we landed up in JP Morgan, it was coming as a risk analyst role.
Okay.
So it was quite interesting because the company was huge, and like in India, usually you follow the brand name. Yeah. And obviously, brand name was amazing. Everything was going smooth. First 2 years in the JP Morgan was amazing. And then it was getting a bit of stagnant there. So then I thought of like, okay, I have done computer science. I should rather jump into engineering also. I have learned Java, so I should apply the logic and so. So after 2.5 years, I made an internal switch within JP Morgan. And there I was working as a business analyst who was a technical business analyst, and who was coding also, taking the business requirements also, and so on. So then that was again for a couple of years I tried that. But after that I was like, okay, maybe engineering or coding is not a part of thing which I'm excited about or passionate about. It's the analysis, numbers, and getting the and staying close to the customer is one of the things. And then I thought, okay, so I will be continuing my analytics track, and then I applied for a master's in US, and I got selected for a master's in US, and then I dropped the papers, and I was just talking to my friend who was working at Wise. He told like, why don't you apply Wise, just for you will get a good practice when you complete your master's, it will be great, and so on. And meanwhile I already got married in my personal life, so we were all also thinking like, okay, like first I'll go to US, I'll do my studies, then my wife will come, she will join us, and so on. And then this was also going in parallel. So she started preparing, and my tickets were booked, and hotel was booked, and everything was done. And suddenly I got an interview from Wise, and I cleared the interview, and then this is how I landed up in Wise as an analyst. And then the journey, so no one knew about Estonia also, so it was quite a time to understand like, okay, how Estonia is and so on. But then we figured it out, and then the journey started from the Wise perspective, and it was quite a roller coaster.
Yeah. Let me just go back here. You were working first studying in VIT. VIT is one of the reputed institution in India. So that's kudos to you. Even if like IIT, JE would have been maybe a bit better, but I think VIT in private institution is right there as well. So it gave you an opportunity to work as a risk analyst for JP Morgan as well, right? तो वो इंडिया में ही आप लोकेटेड थे and you were working within India. क्या लोकेशन थी वो?
So Bangalore.
You were in Bangalore.
I was in Bangalore for 5 years. Yes.
Right. So आपको लगता है कि अगर आप JP Morgan की बजाय किसी और कंपनी में, I don't know, let's just say an Indian company or Indian startup would have been that place, आपको लगता है कि एक्सपोजर डिफरेंट होता और जो आगे की जर्नी वो भी डिफरेंट हो सकती थी?
Definitely. So I think one of the things which I've learned, or if given a magic wand और मुझसे कहा जाए कि like पीछे जाओ और क्या कर चेंज कर सकते हो, so I would definitely start my career with a startup. So I'm not saying that JP Morgan is bad. You learn a lot of different skills in JP Morgan, and you learn a lot of different skills in startup. So I believe when you're starting your career, you should hustle more, right? You should focus on learning more, and then the things will follow eventually. So JP Morgan was more structured. Okay, you have this, and like step by step guide was there. But it is, so whatever you are learning in 3 days in startup might take 15 days or 20 days or maybe a month in JP Morgan, right? Or in a well corporate company or established company. So that's the thing. So I would say that for any beginner or like who is coming out of the college, I would definitely recommend to focus on the startups and focus on learning and see what your passion is, rather than focusing on the brand name and just going ahead with that.
Okay, तो आप you would suggest कि अगर आप कॉलेज ख़त्म कर रहा है कोई, तो इंस्टेड की सैलरी कितना मिल रहा है, कितना कमाएंगे, कहाँ करेंगे, they should more focus on this hustling side of the things.
Yes.
1-2 साल उसमें डाल के learn करके, and then they should look into getting involved into maybe a bigger corporates and stuff like that, right?
Yep. So मेरे ख्याल से like career जो है, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? So what you have to see is not like, okay, what you have to do, what you're going to achieve in 5 years. It's a 20 years long career, right? And according to me, what you should start with is not with settling down initial years. You should try to expose or take a exposure in most of the ways, like, and that's where you start figuring out, okay, what is your interest, what is your passion, right? If you start going into one direction, then it is maybe down the line you will recognize that is not your cup of tea.
Okay.
So I would say go to the and from now the question comes, where can you get the exposure, right? So either in a corporate or in a startup. So in a startup you get an exposure to everything, maybe it's marketing, analytics, coding, and everything, right? But in a corporate, wherever you are a part of a process, right? So you will be exposed to that. So according to me, if you see like within 1 or 2 years, if you work in a startup, you get exposure to everything, and now you will know what is your passion, right? And after that, you can pick that passion and start developing on that. Maybe you might require an MBA to do a specialization. Maybe you might require a different company who has an exposure to that field, right? Or maybe you might want to do a master's and do that. So that is the thing which will give you a nice perspective of where you want to land it.
Okay. इसमें एक चीज आप I think it like plays a big role is it's I completely agree that अगर college खत्म हुआ है तो just try things out, right? Different things. पता नहीं कौन सी चीज़ आपके हिसाब से ज़्यादा सेट बैठ जाए. But how would you say कि to find the right balance? Because we see sometimes these college pass outs, or when we passed out our colleges, like the vision is not there, right? So sometimes it happens that we are jumping from one thing to another to another to another, but we're not finding something, or maybe we just don't know what we find. So how do you think these college graduates or recent pass outs can figure that thing out and be a bit more focused in that approach?
Yeah, so I think giving a streamlined answer like, okay, you should do this will make like lot much sense. But I'll there are two ways, right? Giving an idealistic way of how things and giving a realistic way. So how I feel is that when a kid is born, right, you first crawl, then you start walking, then you start running, and then you adapt to it. If you directly said say a kid to run, it is not possible, right? So these are the life stages in your career, and I think get no one is that mature that they will be able to just born and start running, right? So even if they know, oh, you should do this, you should do this, there is going to be a realistic thing that you will start step by step only. So coming back to your question that okay, what should be the focus and everything, I would say that starts with nowadays in the college, you have a lot of good exposure coming in, so you can only start working on in this direction yourself. What is the thing which you are liking? Are you more directed towards talking to different stakeholders? Are you more directed towards playing with the numbers? Are you more directed towards focusing on the coding part and so on, right? But again, this is say 10% of the people who will be able to recognize, but still there are 90% of people who will not be able to figure out. They will be more generalist like me. I was also a generalist, like I was a 9 pointer, but I was not focused much on coding, not on the stakeholder. But I was able to like get the stuff done in the last minute of hour and get the good grades. And even after 2 to 3 years, I was not able to figure out what exactly I need to do. So that's where I'm saying like people might say, oh, you should figure out this by this, but in a real world, it's very hard, right? So what I would say or focus on is a try to figure out in your college days what you want to do. If that is not possible, then try talking to different stakeholders, right? Because nowadays networking is lot many there. You have a lot of courses. Uh, if you compare my time versus now, you have a lot many exposure on different things. LinkedIn is so amazing platform which is coming in and different things, right? So just focus on one thing, aspire or think about learning and what you're passionate about, because money will follow after that for sure.
Yeah, that's very true. So if I understand it correctly, आप बोल रहे हो कि एक तो डरो मत. If you are have to take a risk in those days, go ahead and take a risk. Second, in your college days, try to get more exposure. Try to get involved in some kind of projects again to get exposure and to learn and to identify the areas where you are good at. तीसरा कि again अगर आप एक चीज़ में लग गए हो, अगर उसमें आपको नहीं मज़ा आ रहा है और you are not connecting to it, don't be afraid to change again. Be open to change at any stage of your time. I think another thing we can add here is the networking. Even in the college days, like go and talk to people. That is one kind of networking. So the bigger the network, the chances are like you would stumble upon more opportunities, and you may click with one or two opportunities, which could help you maybe now or later down the line also. I just want to add one more thing. कि अगर if someone is not able to decide what path they want to take, I think they should look for a mentor as well. Because a mentor can help that person to be more focused, focus their energy in one direction, reflect, and then go after the goal whatever it's agreed on. So I completely agree on your points. Okay, तो ये आपका इंडिया का स्टडी हो गया, JP Morgan का आपका हो गया. Now you mentioned कि आपका वाइस के साथ इंटरव्यू हुआ, and then you got selected. So what year was that?
It was 2019.
Okay, so 2019 you passed the interview and then you moved to Estonia.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about your journey of moving from India to Estonia.
Yeah, like बहुत ही exciting journey थी because no one knew what Estonia is.
Yeah.
Wise was also just coming up, so in India there was no name of Wise, but and obviously like when you search about the Europe and UK startup, then Wise was coming. So definitely this was the thing. So first of all, I'll tell you about how we made our decision making, that why we should be moving to Estonia rather than moving to US or not. So first of all, obviously, uh, whatever I was able to get in Wise, I would have gone after spending my 2 years at a master's, spending X amount of money,
Yeah.
right, which I was already getting. Second was we were already married, and I think there would have been a long distance relationship for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think that was also a thing. And third was the work, right? The work was quite exciting here because everything was starting from zero here, right? So I was coming from a corporate world, and that's and now I have to take a decision that the things will not be as organized here, and am I ready for this challenge? And obviously I was looking for more into the product side also. So these were the 3 or 4 criteria for me to jump on and decide like, okay, yes, Wise will make sense. And yeah, I think thanks to my wife, also she was quite supporting. She was up for it, for the new challenge, and we figured out, okay, let's try to see how Estonia will behave here. If not, then we will take another route. So that's the beauty of like having a better partner, right? Like, and this was giving us a lot of flexibility also. So we came here, we started, and then it was a quite a different experience, right? Because when you're working in JP Morgan, where you have all the suits and everything, and here you have like a completely different culture, and like the Estonian culture was also quite different. If you're coming from India, you have more people which are like more extroverts, and here people are more introverts, but that's fine. Slowly we started figuring it out a way, and then I started my journey, and my wife joined me after 3 months. She also got a job here, and I also got a job here, and then the Wise roller coaster started from here.
Okay. Yeah, I completely agree with you क्योंकि मैं भी दो 2019 में ही आया हूँ यहाँ पे, but when I came then I found out about Wise. So I also started in October 2019.
Nice.
Right. So again, I completely agree. I also came up with bunch of suits. मैंने कभी भी नहीं डाला है. I think they won't fit me now. So it's that stage, but yeah, it's startup culture was the first experience. It's a cultural shock actually.
Yeah.
But how did you manage to that? क्योंकि आप जैसे बोल रहे हो कि JP Morgan fully suited up every morning, और यहाँ पे you're coming in your shorts or maybe just your t-shirt and your simple jeans all day long. So how did you manage that cultural shock?
Yeah, so I think I'll be honest. Initially, the cultural shock tha, right? And I was taking like it took me 1 or 2 months to settle in down. But my manager here and my mentors here did help me. Along with that, I had a few friends from India who were already here, guided me how the process is going to be.
Yeah.
So yes, obviously there is a team who will take care of it, but you get a natural touch also, right, when you find your people. So they helped me in understanding what the Wise culture is, how do you behave, and so on. And slowly within I think 2 to 3 months, it was very easy to settle in. And I think from the work perspective also, there was a huge change, right? In JP Morgan, or like in my previous company, it was like, okay, you have this task and you have to do it, right? So it was more of a top down approach. कि मैनेजर ने बोला है ये करना है और अपन कर देते, right? But here it was like they will not tell you the problem, you have to figure out on your own. And that is why they rely on. So this was also a new thing which I was learning, is autonomy, which I think is very important, and that's where I think that was a more of a distinguishing factor for me, where I started learning more on figuring out, okay, what I have to do rather than what is told to me to do, right? So वो एक काफ़ी बड़ा डिफरेंस मुझे लगा दोनों ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में. And yeah, so slowly I started the journey working with the stakeholders and so on. It was initially also not that easy, but I think that's the wise way also. So hustling is the thing, but I think now I'm quite comfortable in hustling also and figuring out ki if there is a vague problem, how do you figure out the ways of getting it away.
Cool. ठीक है. And I agree कि यहाँ पे वाइस में ये जो culture है कि autonomy है, they give you full freedom. Okay, find a problem. If you have found the problem, then go and search for solutions as well. And do you think इस तरह का जो work culture है helps you to grow quickly than in a completely set up structure in a big corporate? What do you think?
So I think everything has their own pros and cons, right? So I won't say that this is the best or this is the best. It is up to you, an individual, to decide what is best. Uh, so I already had an experience of how to work in a corporate world, how to manage my stakeholders, how, if a given task, how to get the stuff done, right? But what I was more looking into, okay, how's the customer feeling, what is the customer side, right? And I feel more attached when I am talking or when I'm seeing or experiencing the same thing. So whenever you open an app, you can figure out, oh, this is my problem and this is how the customer would be feeling, and yeah, it makes sense to solve it. But in the corporates, you are way far behind your customers, right? You are a part of process. Maybe you might be doing X thing, Y thing, but you are not able to figure out like, okay, what is the final impact. But here, if you go and change it, you will tomorrow know that, oh, you have whether have you broken it or sahi chal raha hai ki nahi. So that's the thing. I think जो मुझे लगा was I got a good experience of corporate. So I know how to talk to and manage stakeholders, like project management, and I figured out there that okay, coding was not my thing, right? So वहाँ से मैं वो learning लेके अब यहाँ पे आया, तो मैंने यहाँ पे autonomy सीखी, कैसे अपनी वेग प्रॉब्लम्स को फिगर आउट करना, कल्चरल एक्सपोजर मिला, लाइक क्योंकि यहाँ पे 70 और 90 नेशनैलिटीज़ के लोग हैं, उनके साथ काम करना कैसे रहता है वो सीखा, राइट? बिकॉज दैट इज़ ऑल्सो अ वेरी बिग स्किल विच यू नीड टू, वो आपको इंडिया में नहीं मिलेगी, राइट? सो दैट इज़ ऑल्सो अ गुड थिंग. सो आई थिंक इट्स द प्रोज विच यू सी. I would not say that okay, this structure is better, this structure is better. At that phase of your life, what do you need? You have to decide that, and after that take a call. Obviously, like जनरली आप देखोगे तो यही समझ में आएगा कि स्टार्टिंग में आप मोर रिस्क फ्री रहते हो, लाइक व्हेन यू आर आउट ऑफ कॉलेज यू हैव full of enthusiasm, passionate, right? So you can go and hustle around, talk to different things, try out, if it doesn't work, do this, if it doesn't work. So autonomy, and if you start automatically learn how to structure the things in your early career, how to figure out a vague problem, that will eventually help you in the corporate also, right? So either you go this route or you learn all your soft skills initially and then you apply to come here, you will do that also. So
again, I think वही point आ गया कि you should find a good mentor who is willing to teach you, help you, and keep you focused on the right path. And then it helps you to grow quickly and stay on the right path in the long run as well. ठीक है, चलो आप यहाँ पे आ गए. You started working with the analyst team. तो around 2-3 साल आपने as a analyst काम किया.
Yeah, so I worked here as for almost 2.5 years as an analyst.
फिर अभी आप PM में हो, तो how did you jump from being an analyst to PM role? Like how did you prepare yourself to become the viable candidate?
Yeah, so this was also quite an interesting piece. So अगर आप PM को देखोगे तो PM का एक one of the skills होता है analytics, right? So mostly analyst might turn out to be analyst leads if they want to grow up in their career in that direction, or they can go deep inside the analyst like the data science track, or they can go more into an individual contributor role, or they go into the PM role. So that's the thing which opens up like what you can do. So in my case, I was, as I mentioned, right, I always love to solve a problem, irrespective of whatever skill it requires. If it requires analytics, I'll do that. If it requires working on a project, I can do that. If it requires different communication, I can do that. So this is the thing which I figured out when I was doing an analyst thing. So yeah, I was always quite passionate about this PM thing, the rosy picture of the PM thing. Yeah, like you have this, you solve the problem, you have different folks working on it. It is amazing. So I thought of like when I was working as an analyst and this option was given to me, I was like, okay, let me see how it works out. So for 6 months, I so first 1.5 years I focused only on the analytics, right? Because whatever is you are given, you have to become a master in that piece. So I focused only on the analytics track. After that, I started figuring out that okay, I love to solve the problem end to end, right? When I say end to end, I love to talk to the customer also. And wise की ये सबसे अच्छी बात है कि it is not like if you are an analyst you can't jump on like thinking, you cover the whole end cycle. So I got that exposure when I was a part of the analyst team. Like in my team I had an exposure of working with researcher, working with designer, working with engineer, working with this. And I slowly figured out, yes, I am liking this thing, right? So then what I decided that okay, maybe I might run or work as a PM for 6 months, but not officially. I will start managing the stuffs on my own. So that started. It went well. The results were coming. It was getting impactful. So then I had initially chat with my managers, like a lot of support. And I think एक और चीज़ again why इसकी कि यहाँ पे everyone is quite approachable, yeah, right? So you can just talk to them, figure out a way. They helped me, okay, do one more thing, and then you can do these things. So in the nutshell, what happened was that yeah, finally I proved myself, and then it was a easy, smooth thing to move into the PM world. Yeah, so that's how I moved from the analytics way to the PM. So in a
अभी आप lead analyst का बात कर रहे हैं हम लोग तो would you mind sharing it as to become a very good analyst, or let's just say to start the journey in the analyst world, what are uh, what are the appropriate or good coding languages one should start learning or looking into, and then slowly get an expert in it?
So अगर analyst का world, अगर if you want to kick off, yeah, I think it depends on where you are at your career, right? So either you can freshly coming out of the college.
Yeah, let's take a fresh pass out.
Fresh pass out, okay. Yeah. So in the fresh pass out, you already have a course of SQL or Microsoft Excel, right? So it's very like baby steps which happens, right? So again, first you should be comfortable with Excel, then you should be comfortable with SQL, and the most important thing is the problem solving skills, right? So no matter if you have a very good SQL or if you have a very good Excel, if you do not have a problem solving skill, then nothing is going to help, right? If you are not able to, because SQL and this are the tool to solve the final problem, but first you need to have a problem understanding and figuring out the solution for that. And that is the skill which comes usually in the college, because you have different problems and then you come across. So according to me, these things can be easily learned, right? The language part, right? But mostly which is missing is the problem solving and the mindset, right? How to solve this problem. I would say focus on that part, and these things will eventually follow, right? So but yeah, like bread and butter for an analyst is SQL, right? So maybe like focusing on that will help from the coding side. But this is first skill is problem solving, followed by supporting tools. Then I would say SQL, focus on SQL, and then now it is getting more advanced, so people are jumping to Python and so on. But I think if you have SQL, then you can easily transit to Python and so on.
ठीक है, चलो ये भी आपका अच्छा point हो गया कि whoever wants to get into these kinds of positions, obviously they have a problem solving mindset, and a mindset where first they should focus more on identifying the problems
Yes.
and then finding the solutions using these tools.
Yeah.
Right?
Good.
Okay, cool. अभी आप एनालिस्ट जर्नी आपकी एनालिस्ट की खत्म हो गई है, पीएम की आपकी जर्नी स्टार्ट होगी. नाउ यू आर वर्किंग एज अ पीएम for a compliance team, right?
Yes. So basically, this was quite an interesting place. So usually in the world of a PM, you have a team and you have a product, and you either build a new thing, a new feature out of it, or you improve the product, or you develop this thing. For me, this was quite an interesting thing because we have identified a problem, but no one knew what is going to happen or like what will happen. So we need to start unpacking the problem. So सबको पता था कि हाँ ये प्रॉब्लम है, बट क्यों है, क्या है, कैसे है, किसी को नहीं पता था, राइट? सो ऑब्वियसली जब जब ये अनपैकिंग की प्रॉब्लम आती है तो सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट होता है कि डेटा कैसा है. तो दैट्स व्हाई आई थॉट लाइक ओके, सिंस आई एम ऑलरेडी एन एनालिस्ट, I will be able to help in unpacking this problem and getting it solved. So I was not thinking like, okay, I am the PM thing, but I was like, oh, this is a problem and I need to solve it, right? And I'll see down the line, okay, how things will figure out, we'll get the resources or not resources. So that's what my passion was, like, okay, problem hai, karna hai solve.
Okay.
So I started the journey, and this was in the discovery phase, right? And then it was like, okay, we'll get a team and then we'll solve the problem and so on. So that's how the things get started in my so as I mentioned, like 6 months I tried that as a project. There I had like a proper structure, like full resources, we solved a problem, there was impact coming and so on. But this was, you're on your own, right? You have to think in different direction and so on. And that's where the PM world started, and slowly I started unpacking it in 1 quarter, 2 quarters, then getting it delivered, and so on. So that's how the things or the PM world started for me.
ऐसा कोई इंसिडेंट है, like as a PM you have been working for almost a year now, as you mentioned, कि आपने कुछ चेंज करने की कोशिश की but it actually broke down the product and customers got affected? Any funny hiccup that you faced?
Yeah, so yep, so basically क्या होता है कि so मेरा जो प्रोडक्ट था उसमें हम लोग स्कैम्स प्रिवेंट करते हैं. सो बेसिकली जो हमारे कस्टमर्स हैं वो स्कैमर्स को पैसे ना भेजें. तो हमारे पास एक मशीन लर्निंग मॉडल है जो हमें बताता है कि ये सस्पिशियस ट्रांसफ़र है कि नहीं, और हम लोग वार्निंग दिखाते हैं कस्टमर को कि हाँ ये मत भेजो या वो मत भेजो.
Okay. So वैसे कि फाइनेंशियल इंडस्ट्री में मैसेज पॉप्स अप.
हाँ या तो जब आप एक नया रेसिपिएंट ऐड करते हो तो एक मैसेज आता है, लेकिन हम लोग ने और एडवांस कर दिया जैसे कि सारे रेसिपिएंट को नहीं, एक ही रेसिपिएंट को.
ठीक है.
तो हम लोग ये टेस्ट कर रहे थे कि कुछ जब हम लोगों ने नया लॉन्च किया तो कुछ करते हैं, बट उसमें क्या किया कि हम लोगों से 5% या 10% को करना था, और सडनली हम लोगों ने 100% को कर दिया.
ओके.
राइट. तो और वो टेस्टिंग फेज में था, तो हर बंदा जो भी ट्रांसफर बना रहा था सबको वो आ रहा था.
ओके.
राइट. तो उसके कारण काफ़ी लोगों ने पूछा कि क्या हो गया सडनली. 1 दिन में हम लोगों को पता चला कि जो कि 5 और 10 बार आना चाहिए था वो 1000 और करोड़ों बार आ रहा है. तो वो हम लोगों को समझ में आया कि यार ये तो बहुत बड़ी गलती हो गई. तो फिर हम लोगों ने तुरंत उसको रोल बैक किया, एंड उसके कारण फिर हमारी सारी चीज़ें स्टेबलाइज हुई. उसके बाद कस्टमर्स भी वरीड हो गए थे कि क्या चल रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा है. तो वो वाला चीज़.
Now as a PM, how comfortable you are in this role? और अभी आपको क्या लगता है कि you made the right move कि analyst positions और analyst words या PM word में है, so you see yourself growing and learning and you're liking it?
Yeah, so definitely like PM world is more exciting, but it comes with its own cost also, right? So analyst में you can go more deep, right? PM में you have to cover multiple things, right? So and the most important thing is stakeholder management also. So PM, you don't have to be like okay, yeah, this is so in the analyst world, okay, you have this problem, you have the skills, you solve it, and this. But in the PM world, you have to convince also everyone and motivate everyone, your team, to solve the problem without having the full control on your team also. So वो चीज़ काफ़ी एक्साइटिंग है. So मुझे जो बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि एक वेग प्रॉब्लम को मैंने उसको स्ट्रक्चर किया, उसका विजन बनाया, स्ट्रेटेजी बनाई कि कैसे सॉल्व करेंगे, और फिर मोटिवेट किया सबको कि यार चलो अब सॉल्व करते हैं, एंड पीपल वाउच्ड ऑन इट. सो काफ़ी अच्छा लगता है जब फाइनली थिंग्स गेट डन. तो वो वाला ट्रैक है. कमिंग बैक टू योर क्वेश्चन ऑन कि एनालिस्ट सही था कि पीएम सही था, आई थिंक दीज आर डेजिग्नेशंस फॉर मी. स्टिल आई वुड से आई एम मोर पैशनेट ऑन सॉल्विंग द प्रॉब्लम. सो अगर एनालिटिक्स की स्किल्स लग रही हैं या पीएम की स्किल्स लग रही हैं बट वो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो रही है, वो मेरे लिए मेन है, रादर देन ओके एम आई अ डिज़ाइनर, एम आई अ कोडर, और एम आई अ दिस. So that is the thing. I wouldn't say कि analyst is better or PM is better. It is like, but in the PM, you have that exposure more, but it also comes with a cost of like you can get easily distract yourself also.
No, it's really interesting and I agree as well. कि आप बोल रहे हो कि जो भी skill है put that to use, right? And you will enjoy what you are doing. And जैसे पहले भी हमने starting में बात किया कि money will follow. So if you are enjoying your work, if you are putting your skill to the right use and you're actually solving the problem and the results are tangible, so everything will be fine in the long run. So I really like that thing. Okay, I don't know if how much sense this question would make, but let's say someone is planning to be, become a PM or start to look into this path. What were few or maybe a couple of things you can tell them to focus more on, apart from obviously problem solving mindset, and not get distracted into too many other things?
Got it. So I think this question can be divided into 2 or 3 parts, right?
Yeah.
One, where are you currently in your journey of your life, right? How much risk can you take, and what are you doing currently? So let's boil down to someone who is already 3 to 4 years of experience working in a company, and now he or she wants to move to the product role. First, we have to identify whether there are opportunities or not, right? Like, so if you are saying that okay, if I'm working in X organization, there is no PM culture, then I think it is not valid. But suppose now let's boil down that okay, you have a PM culture, and let's take a wise example, right? You are here 3 years and 4 years. The best thing for which can happen is 2 ways. Either you go for your MBA and learn that experience, and then come back and apply for a different role and so on. But that could be expensive also. So as I mentioned, where you are and what you are, depending on that you can do. And second thing is what I really like. PM is more about hands-on and on-the-job learning skill. You can have n number of frameworks, but when it comes to application, it's really hard, right? So you can learn only on the skill. So I would advise anyone to first work within the company, right? Identify a problem, work with your manager that hey, I am passionate about it, I want to solve it, I will get it done. Make a roadmap for it, and if you are able to get it done, then you can have that collaboration with your manager on this piece.
Really, really interesting. And I think that's like could be the crux of this discussion. जैसे आपने कहा कि सबसे पहले तो एक don't be afraid to hustle, right? Look for difficult I don't know problems. जो भी कंपनी में काम कर रहे हो या अगर आप खुद स्टडी कर रहे हो अभी, often reflect, right? I think reflecting on your experience helps a lot because it gives you some time to identify your weak areas or जो भी mistakes आपने किए हैं, maybe in last 6 months or 3 months, whatever the time when you're reflecting on. Third point I really like is you mentioned briefly is be patient about it, right? You have to be patient. अगर आपने अभी कुछ सीखना start किया तो you can't expect to be a PM in 6 months or 8 months because you have to learn, you have to become very good at it, and you have to deliver results to showcase your potential. Other thing I think is again find a mentor and enjoy what you're doing. So I think that's what I think is the crux of what you have mentioned
Yeah.
throughout last 50 minutes or something. I
Got it.
completely agree with that.
I think one of the things which I wanted to add on is, which I usually give an example to everyone, right? कि क्या होता है. So basically बहुत ही सिंपल एनालॉजी लेनी हो, अगर आप बचपन से कंप्यूटर्स गेम खेल रहे हो, राइट, एंड सडनली आपको फुटबॉल खेलने मिले, तो आप थोड़ा सा अनकंफर्टेबल रहोगे और मे बी आप वहाँ पे नहीं कर पाओ. मे बी आप अगर दिन भर मतलब कंप्यूटर खेलते हो तो मे बी आप उसकी इंडस्ट्री में जा सकते हो. बट इमेजिन अगर आप पहले से रनिंग कर रहे हैं, राइट, रनिंग कर रहे हो, और अगर आपको फिर फुटबॉल सीखना हो, तो आपके पास ऑलरेडी स्किल क्या है कि आपके पास स्टैमिना है, राइट, आप कर सकते हो, तो आपको इजी रहेगा वो ट्रांजिशन करना. तो मेरा बस ये एडवाइस होगा कि डू नॉट जंप इनटू मल्टीपल, मतलब एकदम एक्सट्रीम्स पे भी जंप मत करो, राइट, क्योंकि यू विल ट्राई टू फिगर आउट कि यार चलो मैं रनिंग तो करता था, अब बस मुझे ये और स्किल सीखनी है तो मैं सीख लूंगा, एंड बिकॉज यू हैव दैट कोर स्किल यू विल बी एबल टू डू दैट. सो पीएम इज playing a football and being a football player, and you might be running regularly, so making that switch will be easy. Right. But now you have not run ever in your life and you are always focused on this, and now you are asked to run 10 kilometers. I think that will not make sense also. So that is a spot which you need to start figuring out, like, okay, how cool I am with all the things. So that will help you in taking a decision.
बहुत अच्छा analogy दिया आपने, and it's easy to understand from this perspective. I really like it. But thank you very much, Sankalp. I think I बहुत से questions पूछे मैंने. I hope it was not too much, and I got to learn a lot. And there was very, as I said again, there were very good points that you mentioned. So thank you very much for your time, guys. I'm gonna link Sankalp's Insta or Twitter or LinkedIn as well. If you have any questions about whatever we discussed, you can reach out to him. I hope he wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, and
I'm always happy to help. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice because he has the experience, and with the fresh college pass outs, maybe he may be able to share some insights and could help some of you. So thank you very much once again, Sankalp. It was really nice chatting with you.
Thank you.
All right.